Welcome back, everybody. So this is going to be an update to the video last week where I was talking about why there were so many ball pythons left on Morph Market and how a lot of breeders are kind of out of touch with what they should be pricing their animals at. And this is a girl that I want to use for an example that I have here. I actually went on Morph Market and I went through at different price points at $250, $500, and $1,000 to compare what some of the dumbest animals listed for in this prices were and what some of the best values, the best animals you can get for at those prices. One of the users or one of our viewers from last week commented, looking over. Actually, let me get you the actual username so I don't mess it up here. Give me 1 second. I can pull it up here in 1 second for you. Let's see. Community. Was it Macy Jalen? It looks like out of like the almost 30,000 ball pythons right now. Basically, half of those listings on a Morph Market are 6 months or older, which means they're not selling fast. So thank you again for doing that research for me. So I went through and I was like, you know what? This is a good topic. It needs to be a little more talked about. People need to be a little more educated about it. If anything, I've done promoting on this channel as being business savvy and running this like a business. Even if you're doing it as a hobby, there needs to be a lot more talk in this industry about being smart about how you're running it. Because even if you're running it as a hobby and you only have 20 or 30 snakes, those still cost money to maintain if you're not selling them. So these are listings that I pulled off. So this is Sunday, July 27th. These are listings that I just pulled literally 2 minutes ago. These were not auctions. These aren't old listings. These are listings that I literally found in the last 5 minutes. So with all of these price points, 250, 500, 1,000, I'll start off with the dumb ones first and then give you examples of good ones. And I'll give a little bit of information as to why. So at $250, you can buy a cinnamon Mojave or you can buy an Orange Dream Vanilla. Both terrible choices to spend $250 on because of these other ones that I'm going to list next. The better options would be a Dragonfly Double Het Sunset Clown, 100% Double Het Sunset Clown, a Black Pastel Desert Ghost, or an Enchi Lemon Blast Desert Ghost Het Clown. So if you guys know anything about that, you want recessives at this point. And Desert Ghost and Clown are two of the most prominent recessives in the industry. So, to be honest, this Enchi Lemon Blast Desert Ghost Het Clown to me is worth way more than $250. The Black Pastel Desert Ghost is probably priced appropriately. The Dragonfly Double Het Sunset Clown, I don't really know. I've never been in that project. That seems, I guess, okay. I mean, that even seems like it might be a little cheap for that. But hey, if you pick up a snake like that and you're trying to build that double recessive project, fantastic. But the reason why those are better than the Cinnamon Mojave or the OD Vanilla is because they not only do they not have recessives, there's not a whole lot you can do with either of those snakes. There's really not a whole lot going in there. You can make blue-eyed Lucy's with the Cinnamon Mojave, but it basically wipes out the need for having cinnamon in that snake. So as I've always preached, it's that you want to have recessives, and you want the more recessives, the better. I don't think that's ever going to go away. Obviously, you need to pair up the right recessives because sometimes you can make bad choices. But at $250, a cinnamon Mojave. I mean, I was spending $250 on a cinnamon Mojave like years ago. They shouldn't still be priced at that price point. So if we move up to $500, I found a Banana Leopard Fire. Just, again, no recessives, 3 codoms. And to be quite honest, at this point, Leopard and Fire are basically free genes that you find in anything because they're so prominent and they're so easy to find. They don't hold a ton of value. And Banana's almost kind of the same way. Or you can buy a dreamsicle, which is a lavender albino pied, double visual recessive, or a double visual clown pied. So again, the people that have a 3 codon snake priced the same as double visual recessive snakes, a dreamsicle and a clown pied, is absolutely asinine. That tells me that there's so much there's so many uneducated sellers or disillusioned sellers, or God, I mean, how many different ways can I describe it? That they're trying to sell a 3 codon snake at the same price point that others are selling double recessive snakes is completely ridiculous. And I can't even see how anybody would find value in spending $500 on a banana leopard fire. And really, for this video, I probably should have taken it a step further and looked at the other banana leopard fires to see what they were priced at. Maybe that's a different video where I take these outrageously priced snakes and compare them to what the other people selling them for have them for. But that snake shouldn't be more than a $200 snake, if that. I mean, even less than that, which is why I always tell people you need to be using recessives, because even the prices of those come down over time when there's 30,000 snakes on Morph Market. So then I moved up to $1,000. The crazy snake that I found was a Bumblebee Highway 50% het clown. Now, there are 2 major glaring issues with that snake. Bumblebee means it has the spider gene. Now, I'm not going to make this a video about whether or not you should breed the spider gene because it has wobble. I don't agree with breeding that snake. I don't feel like ethically that's something you should be breeding. That's why I stopped breeding super cinnamons, because there were so many deformities when you breed super cinnamon. I didn't want to be creating snakes like that I was going to have to kill basically as soon as they come out of the egg, because they're so deformed in their spines or in their faces that they can't survive. I feel like spiders the same way. Now, I actually have a video about that from a couple years ago. If you want to look into that more, that was a big discussion probably 4 or 5 years ago between a lot of people. But the other issue with that snake is it's only 50% het clown. Now, that snake being priced at $1,000 is probably one of the most ridiculous listings that I've ever seen. And on top of that, that person should just spend the $50 to get it tested for het clown. Because not only does that 50% not really raise the value of it, I don't even know if that snake being 100% clown will raise the value of it, because there's not really a whole lot going on in there. And it sure as hell isn't worth $1,000. And here's why. That female that I just showed you, this pinstripe clown, pied, het hypo, that's a proven breeder female, I have for $1,000. And these 2 females that I just sold that are clown double het MJ Xanthic pied sold for $1,000. This mahogany clown female that I have on auction, that's a big proven breeder, is selling at auction for a little under $500. So what else did I find on Morph Market for $1,000? There was an Enchi double visual Desert Ghost pied for $1,000. So there's somebody selling a snake that's not even het clown. It's 50% possible het clown, and it has a gene that, like, really people shouldn't be breeding at this point, from my point of view, or don't want to breed at this point. It's a very divisive gene. So, like, I look at it from this perspective. There are a lot of people that aren't meant to run businesses. And quite honest, they don't have the savvy for it. Maybe they're not smart enough to understand it. I'm not here to knock anybody down because of their IQ levels, but maybe they purchased a crappy snake a year or two ago, not great at husbandry, spent a lot of money on that snake. It took it 2+ years to breed, and they got this snake out where they spent $4,000 on the snake 2 years ago. That snake now is worth $1,000 or less. They finally got babies out of it, and they thought, you know what? I need to get my money back. This snake, I'm going to sell it for $1,000, $2,000. Guess what? The reality is those snakes aren't worth that anymore. And that snake probably was never worth that. I've had a hard time swallowing that pill with some of these animals, these clown doublehead MJ pieds. These are snakes nobody else has. And I've realized that, oh God, I need to sell these for $1,000. Nobody else bit the bullet. Nobody else took the bait at any price higher than that. But as soon as I got it to $1,000, people were like, yes, I'll take it. Sold right away. And when you're selling shitty snakes like this bumblebee poshet clown, if you think you're going to get $1,000 for it, you are just out of your mind. And if you buy it for $1,000, you should not be spending $1,000 at a time on anything, because it is literally one of the worst purchases you're ever going to make on anything ever. You might as well just go set that money on fire out in the backyard. That's how bad of a purchase that snake is. Now, I'm not here, maybe I am, at this point to just kind of be a little more matter of fact and transparent about how all this stuff works, because there is a lot of dumb shit going on in this industry in terms of what sellers are doing and what sellers are selling things for. And people aren't educated enough about it in terms of what pricing should be, or smart enough to understand how to really dive into what pricing is and what comparables are. So hopefully videos like this actually kind of bring a little bit more light to that. Because look, I'm a seller more than I'm a buyer, or have been for the last 5 or 6 years. But I've never ever been unrealistic with pricing, and I've never tried to take advantage of somebody. If I could have gotten more for my snakes, I would have. But my issue with all of this is that these people aren't selling these snakes. And I can guarantee you, and this is a lot of my issue with this industry, is that there's people with 400 snakes in their store with listings that are 1, 2, 3 years old. And I can guarantee you they're not taking good care of those animals. Those like they're in terms of genetics, crappy genetic animals. So they don't care about that animal. They're just hoping at some point to get paid for it. And I'm not saying everybody's like that, because I'm sure there's people that spend 10 hours a day in their snake room, and they're making sure it's the cleanest and all those animals are happy and healthy and fed and in the cleanest of environments. But I guarantee you there's probably more people that have just racks filled of animals that nobody wants to buy, that the seller isn't willing to lower the price on. And those animals aren't probably in good conditions. And we've seen videos of that over the past couple of years, and incidents of that where people have been publicly shamed for how they've kept their collections. And I'm sure there's a lot more of that going on than you realize. And I'm like kind of just here to hopefully it opens some eyes when I'm saying stuff like this. But you need to know how you're pricing your animals versus the rest of the market, and you need to know what animals are selling for. Looking back over recent sales help a lot too. Every time I go to price an animal, I look at what things are priced at right now, and I look at the recent sales. So, if you're on Morph Market and you look at availability as one of the things to sort by, you can sort by for sale, you can sort by sold. I sort by all. So that if I'm looking at a lightning pied, an MJ Xanthic pied, I see everything that's currently available plus everything that has sold. And that gives me a good barometer of, where should I price my snakes? What's realistic for not only what is the last animal to sell, but what other people currently have things listed for. Because if the last animal to sell was $2,000, but everybody else that currently has them for sale is $3,000, that tells me, well, I mean, the odds of me getting $3,000 are slim. I probably need to have this animal $2,000, and maybe even less, because if that animal was listed at $2,000, it doesn't mean it's sold at $2,000. It could have sold at $1,900 or $1,500 or $1,000. Now, nobody's going to know that, but it's probably not selling at $3,000, especially if everybody else on the market has them at $3,000. If the last sale was $2,000. So, these snakes were just a couple of examples, but, from a perspective of a buyer, don't fall in love with a snake because it looks pretty. Do a little more research, figuring out like what you should be looking at buying and breeding versus what just looks pretty to you. And my goal has always been to make sure that people are making smart buys, smart purchases, so that not only are you not overbuying things now and paying more for things that you shouldn't pay for, but so that by the time you're able to breed those snakes, you're actually getting some return on your investment, so that you're not underwater. That's what I did my first year or two, was I bought the wrong snakes, and I mean, they were paying off a little bit because prices were really high at that time, but they stopped paying off, and that's why I shifted everything I was doing into being more recessive focused, and that's when I started seeing the return on my investment pay me back. But if you're buying a Bumblebee Highway 50% het cloud on $1,000, I don't care how many clutches you produce with that snake. I don't know if you'll ever get $1,000 back out of it in terms of what you're selling the babies for. That's how bad of a snake that is, in my opinion, in terms of what the breeding potential is, especially if it doesn't end up being clown. If that thing is not clown and all you have is a Bumblebee Highway, you selling anything with spider in it, half those babies are going to be spider, is going to be near impossible. Nobody wants them at this point. So, things like that will dig you an early grave in this industry. And there are more videos like this that I plan on making over the next couple months. There are some other topics I want to talk about in terms of pricing that I see in the market. I'm kind of over past the barrier where I'm, afraid of stepping on people's toes. And my advocacy has really always been on the buyer side of it, because that's what my Patreon was about, was kind of educating people about what you should and shouldn't be buying. And that's what a lot of my videos have been about, is this is what you should and shouldn't be buying. So we'll touch on that stuff a little later down the line. Hopefully this information helped a little bit. And again, if you're still around, if you have ideas for videos that you want me to talk about, please comment down below and let me know. I'm going to stop making videos here probably by the time this collection's done, and hopefully it's all sold by November. So we have, 3 or 4 months left of me making content, and I have the ability to make more than 1 or 2 videos a week if there are good topics to talk about. So I've been mixing in, stuff like this, plus, egg cutting videos, or clutch reveal videos, or current inventory videos. I've been trying to do like some half educational, half just like showing what I have here left. So please, if you have ideas for content, ask down below. If I haven't already covered it in depth, look back over my channel. I have so many videos that I don't even know what I've covered at this point. But if you don't see it already in my channel, or if it's something you think that needs to be updated or re-uploaded again, just for 2025 purposes, let me know. Comment that down below. Let's get it in, before I'm done in here, because, when I'm done, I'm probably done. Maybe I have, a couple things left to say once I sell out everything. But, that's the whole goal. So I'm not going to be probably making videos anymore past this year. So get in your questions now, and we'll see you in the next video.